Well, now here I have to explain to you. Those of you that thought you were gonna come here to get a hot 2 menu. I am really. Did you do that on purpose?
Oh, Sally did.
That being said, I think I'd better tell you what my purpose here is. Actually, my purpose for being and coming to this church and speaking at this church, when I can, I have my own personal purpose. And there are a lot of people here that never heard this before. It's short, but it will help to get us warm. And this is called what I believe. Okay? I believe that we are first and foremost spiritual beings, involved in a human experience. I believe there is a way for us to permit our spirituality to lift our humanity beyond all seeming limitation into a world of creativity and personal fulfillment. I believe this way is made available to us through the correct use of our individual minds, which minds are some part of the one divine universal mind, sometimes called God. Correct use means seeking always to live, to know and live by the truth. My purpose is to share that truth, as much of it as I understand, with anyone who wishes to hear it. Okay? So that's what I'm about. So, the purpose then of my talk today was to be much more broad than it is going to be today. Today is not the whole how-to manual. This is page 1. So, yes, so there may be many more pages.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are the challenges of our life? In the newspaper blurb, I talked about the idea that we find so many books on the library shelves that explain to us how to put right what has gone wrong in our lives. And actually, it was Jennifer that, she doesn't know this, but it was her thoughts about that made me think and made me get the books that she was referring to. And I was all set several weeks ago to do a totally different talk, because the author is a well-known author, good author, her books are good, and I found myself not enjoying the book, which I like to enjoy the books when I read them. Nothing wrong with her book. My challenge, my personal challenge, was that I wasn't finding what I was looking for. You know, and there's a little trick that ministers can use. They always go to the beginning of a paragraph, skim, go to the end, go to the beginning, and you're looking. In this way, you kind of sieve, you know, and get rid of the stuff you don't want. I wasn't finding what I was looking for, and so I had to ask myself a very basic question. The thesis, if you like, for the book was, how is it that we keep getting sick, and then if we get well, we get sick again? And that seems to happen to so many people. We can't get well and keep well. So I started asking myself a different question. I didn't really want to know why I got sick, or why I couldn't stay well and all that. I wanted to know, how come I got sick in the first place? If God is all there is, and now you're getting some more of my personal beliefs, if God is all there is, which I believe, all the Bibles and all the good books say that we are divinely created out of that one presence, and everything that it is, we have, we are it, everything it has is in us. And the more I thought about all my old basic truths, the more confused I got, because each one kept telling me, you didn't mean to be sick in the first place. Why are you sick in the first place? And I never found the answer. So this is where the idea of a how-to manual came from. It's not that I know everything, but in my years I have learned a lot. And I think it's valuable, and that's why I want to share it. I want to do that. So why? God has created everything there is for us. Everywhere you read anything of a really deep spiritual nature, it says in essence that that divine infinite mind is for us all the time, always. Well, where does all the rest of the stuff keep coming from? Because if it's all for me, where is it coming from? And what I know from my own inner self is that God does not punish them. So I'm sorry, guys. If you guys think that you are being punished and everything that goes wrong is punishment, and you're pretty much all getting paid up here, it's not that you're not getting paid up, it's that God never punishes. You're wasting your time if you're asking God to forgive you. Do you see, if God only knows how to be for us, how can there be anything against us? And in my book, punishment is definitely against me. So I don't want that. I want to understand, if God is for us, why am I not getting mine? And why is it that so many people that I know and love get theirs and more? Either the good share or the bad share. There is no good and bad in God. There is no evil. I become so concerned when I hear good religious people, because they're all good. They're just misinformed sometimes. Why? And one of the books I most recently read was just full of evil. So this is evil and that is evil. Evil, evil, evil. And of course the thesis for that particular book was stop being evil. Well, I tried that a long time ago. Okay. So it's not that we haven't tried our best. It's not that we don't want to be good. We all have grown greatly. You wouldn't be in this room, in this particular church today, if you were not trying to be the best person you can be. I believe that about every person here, sincerely, really. So we do get better all the time. I believe that too. Every lesson we learn, even if it's uncomfortable, teaches us, and we grow from it. We get a little bit better. We climb the ladder, if you like, one little rung at a time. It may take us a while, but we are growing. Don't ever doubt that. It's part of the spiritual as-isness of God, if you like, is this idea of growth, continual improvement in ourselves. And that's what we want, and continual improvement for the world, or whatever. So, I have learned that infinite intelligence has everything there is for me. One caveat, I have to be willing to accept it. I have to be willing to be that, do that, have that. Whatever it is, I feel like I'm lacking. Sometimes it's health. I feel like I'm lacking in health. Some of you know that on my birthday last year, which is coming up again in July, so for that period of time, I had some bad health. And I was shocked because I hadn't been ill for years, literally for years. And it knocked me up one side and down the other. And I understand some people are going through stuff like that now. Well, I've been mending and growing and mending and growing and learning in the process. So, having grown a great deal, as all of you have, in understanding the idea that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, or human beings having a spiritual experience, depends where you are and what you believe, but those things are true. If that is so, where am I? Where are you? How far do you feel you've come? Why do you feel you haven't come as far as you want to in one particular area? Health, prosperity. What is the thing that you feel you're lacking? A relationship? Most of us, when we are not satisfied, it's because we feel a hole, a little hole somewhere. And my answer for that is that there is one simple error that every one of us indulges in. One simple error that hampers our harvest of what it is that God, Spirit, Infinite Mind keeps trying to give us. Because that goodness, just like the sun is shining out, that sun is shining all the time. Why is it that we don't get that all the time? What is it that we do? How is it that I get in my way? How is that? Okay. There are many names. I move on. I called it, and still I'm calling it at the moment, casting shadows. I cast shadows. I catch myself. The more I think about it, the sooner I catch myself at it again. Have you ever noticed that? Remember, ladies, gentlemen, you'll forgive me for a moment, when you were pregnant, if you were, the minute you got pregnant, every other woman in the world was getting pregnant too. Men, for you, it's getting a gorgeous, like my husband, red, what is that thing? Firebird. When you get a Firebird, gentlemen, or think about getting a Firebird, everybody in the world but you has got one. There's something going on in our minds. And I believe that it is this idea of casting shadows. I'll get into it. Can we use what all of us already have? Every single person in this room already has what they can use to heal themselves of casting shadows. You were born with it. It's called light. You'll read about it. You'll see it everywhere. Somebody will try to ram it down your throat, you know. Let me put the light around you. Oh, give me a break. And some of us really work at it, and that's good, okay? Because light is an important thing. Without light, there is no life in this world without light. So it's a very important thing. And we were all born with it. And some of us grew into it slowly. And some of us had miracles and had it happen to us. It's like, wow, suddenly I saw the light, you know, or the light came on. You know, those kinds of sayings. The first one that really struck me, that I had read 100 times probably, but hadn't even connected, was the story of Paul in the Bible. I don't know if you know much about Paul, but Paul was a nasty piece of work. He used to ride around on a very expensive horse, being very cruel to Christians and stuff like that. And the story goes, this is my interpretation of the story, God took a two before and knocked him off his horse. And when they picked him up, he was blind. He had gone blind. In other words, he had come into the truth, or the reality, if you like, of his darkness. He was dark, he was cruel. And it was, I'm going to guess, about 10 days he was blind. And he suddenly woke up. There's a lot of waking up going on in the Bible. This means you've seen your healing, you've got it, you understand. So he woke up, and my interpretation again of what the words actually say is, he knew who he was. He knew what he had done. He realized what he was doing, and that wasn't who he was. He woke up and he knew who he was. And he became the St. Paul that a lot of us understand, and some of us used to worship or whatever, depending on your church or your teaching. A modern person like that some of us read and understand, would be Marguerite Storz. Does anybody know who Marguerite is? Oh, okay. Let me enlighten you. Marguerite often ends some of her writings with this or something exactly, very much like it. She says, I am the place where God, or Infinite Mind, stands forth in the world as myself. That's that's what she believes she is. She believes she is standing as who she is in this world, God as her. God as her. I keep this point of light before me all throughout the day. I always remember who I am. She remembers that she is standing in the world as God for her, where she is in the light. So I keep that in there a lot of time. So, be still. Okay. Let's all agree then, just for the sake of argument, whether you agree or not, you know, honor me, I mean humor me. Okay. Let's agree that we all have this light, that we've come by it one way or another. We've all got the light, but it's blocked. This is my point. What it is that causes us to cast shadows is the fact that we are blocking the light. The light never tries to stay away from us. God or infinite mind never stops trying to give itself to us. We can just turn our backs, totally ignore, totally keep on doing all the things that make us and the rest of the people around us unhappy, and that infinite light will still keep pouring on you. It will be attempting to give itself to you. But we stop it from casting shadows. Now, God supposedly is all power, and it is all power, but it has given us one gift that it cannot take away from us, and that is our power of choice. We can choose to turn our back on the light. We can choose not to see it at all. We can choose to just simply see all the shadows there are in the world, and boy, have people been telling us about all the shadows that there are in the world. Okay. I'm sick of that. There you go. I cast a shadow. Did you hear me cast a shadow? Okay. And that is how simple it is to cast shadows. Now you can criticize people, you can tear them down, you can say all kinds of things about people, and that's casting a shadow. The interesting thing is, shadows that you cast on other people never hurt them. You cannot hurt other people with your misery guts. All they do is come back to hurt you. It's like everything in the universe, it goes round in a circle, and you get it back. Now you may not intend, but that's the way life works. The sun's rays go round the universe and come back some way or another. It keeps on happening, but we do not realize that we are casting shadows. Let me see, where did I go from there? When we cast shadows, the only person we hurt is us. Because what we do is cause a deficiency that helps to prevent us from absorbing the goodness that infinite mind is, or God is. That light that is supposed to be shining on us gets blocked by our own foolishness or misunderstanding or not knowing. Okay? Here's an important thing. When we are trying, as most of us are, to heal ourselves of whatever ails us, doesn't matter if it's relationships or money or what. When we are trying to heal ourselves of that, and if we are prayers, if we pray, we say, "Dear God," or something. "Dear God, I am so tired of all this stuff." Oh, one, God is tired. I do not have enough money. I need more money. Oh, two, God is poverty-stricken. On and on we go. We keep on. Listen, I wrote some of them down. No, never mind. But it's like that. Now here's one that you might not realize. You might have thought of it as being a blessing. You see a person, okay, you guys here are all into the homeless and the children that need all of that, okay? I'm not condemning you. However, when you say something to yourself even, like this, oh, look at that poor thing. Oh, God is poor. It's another shadow. But is the child or person that is supposedly the recipient of what you're saying, are they harmed by what you have said? Are they harmed by what you have thought? No. Who is harmed if harm is there by that? You looking at a child of God and saying, oh, you poor thing. This is another way that we cast a shadow on ourselves. It may not seem very harmful, but if you do that maybe 10 times a day in different ways, you know, that's 10 shadows on you and none on anybody else. We do this ourselves. We block the light, block the light, block the light, not realizing that that is the one thing that God or infinite mind is giving to us, is the light of love, the light of joy, the light of peace, the light of forgiveness. Whatever it is you think you're missing, it's in the light. And you have to stop putting sunglasses on and not seeing the light. Your job is to keep on seeing the light and saying, this is what's beautiful. I know I thought that, but forgive me, I don't want to know that kind of thing. I want to say to myself when I see that poor little child, I want to say, what a beautiful child of God you are. Only goodness can come your way. That's how you heal yourself and help to heal the world. It's a very important part. Now, to get back to the praying idea, here's what's so important. The infinite mind of God can only speak its own language. There's an old story in the Bible, the Tower of Babel, where everybody wants to get to God. And then when they try to find out where God is, nobody can understand anybody. They can't talk to each other. They can't understand each other. They can't get help from each other because they're trying to talk to God in terms that God has no language of. You see, God cannot understand, and I'll say God all the time instead of infinite mind and everything. There is no such word as hate in God. There is no such word as hate in God. There's love. You want to talk to God, talk in terms of love. Talk in terms of light, talk in terms of peace. Talk in terms of everything that is good. And watch yourself get blessed. Because it's coming round to you. You're getting the healing that you're asking for. You give it, you get it, it's there. Oh, this goes right along with today's topic. What was it? Because in here I wrote so many shades of gray. You obviously haven't seen the movie. So many shades of gray. Criticisms of ourselves, casting a shadow. Criticism of others, casting a shadow. Worry. Please raise your hand if your worry ever fixed anything. No? Worry doesn't fix anything. It's another shadow. It's another patch over the sunshine that you can't get into your body. If you could be imaginative like that, that would be good. Let's see. Oh, how do you heal? There's a Maori proverb that I only found yesterday. And the proverb says, where are you? Oh. Turn your face to the sun and the shadows will fall away behind you. Now, is that simple or what?
Yep.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. Our shadows come around only to us. I already addressed that. And there is a little caveat in there. Our negativity only comes around and hurts other people if you can convince them that you are correct in your negativity. Don't let other people turn your mind. You don't want to believe in negative, hateful, ugly things. You want to find a way in your own mind to have something good in there, something peaceful, something loving like that. Okay. Oh. Dr. Fox. This is a very old book, lots of Bible quotes and all that good stuff in it, but he's got some really good, down-to-earth healing things, he says. Don't be a grave robber. Okay. In due course, nature disposes of all the old, dead past. Every time you dig up an old grievance or an old mistake, by rehearsing it in your mind, okay, hold on that, haven't we? Okay. Or still worse, by telling someone else about it, you are simply ripping open a grave. And we all know what we find there. Live in the present. Prepare intelligently for the future, and let the past alone. This is what Jesus meant when he said, let the dead bury their dead. Make a law for yourself today that you're not going to touch mentally any negative thing that has happened up to the present moment, and keep that law for yourself. Life is too precious for grave robbing. The past is past. Liquidate it. If a negative memory comes to your mind, cremate it with the light and the fire of love. Okay? And then move on. And then move on, yeah. What can we do? Well, there is a lot. There's the Maori proverb, we can turn our face to the sun. We can throw our light, we all have light. We can throw our light on other people's shadows. That sometimes helps them too. And remember one important thing, and this is so important, and it's so simple. You can only cast shadows if there's a light around. Remember that for yourselves, no matter what's going on, where you are, what's happening. You couldn't be having a shadow if there wasn't light. What's the most important thing if somebody could write a how-to manual? What might they put on the frontispiece inside the book? The very first thing. Who knows the very first thing in a how-to manual about this?
You are the light.
Who said that? What did you say, Hannah?
You are the light.
You are the light, that's a good thing. But what God said was, let there be light. First thing. Okay, and so it is.
So it is.